Morning. My name is Amy Jackson, and I'm the director of the Perch. And today I'm bringing our third Holy Week practice that you can use for soul care. Um, this is a practice I thought you could use anytime today or anytime tomorrow. It's not directly tied to Holy Saturday, but actually kind of encompasses the whole last 3 days of Holy Week. And so I hope it's a practice that you can use now or sometime this weekend. You will need a pen and some paper or a journal for this. And so I want to give you a second to go ahead and grab a pen and something to write with and write on. And we're going to be talking about the practice of journaling. And I'm going to lead us in a very specific journaling exercise this morning. But I want you to know journaling is a fantastic practice that can help us become more self-aware, more connected to what's happening around us. We can observe things in our life and make connections and see how God might be inviting us into new adventures and new things in our lives. And so journaling is a fantastic practice. And there's lots of different ways you can journal. I know some of us, right hearing that, we say, I'm not a journaler. I don't want to write for hours. I don't want to write for pages in a journal. And that's okay. There's actually lots of different ways to journal. There is a fantastic craze around bullet journaling, which is very quick journaling. There's gratitude journaling, which is simply listing out things that you're grateful for, even just one or two things a day. There is more kind of journaling could be at the end of each week as you look back at the whole week. And so it doesn't have to be necessarily a daily process if that's hard to fit into your normal schedule. But all that to say, there's tons of ways to journal, but there is something actually psychologically that as we put pen to paper, as we actually write out and move our hand along the page, there is something that kind of shifts within us and helps us to dive deeper into the themes of what's happening in our lives. It helps us to connect. It helps us to recognize themes and ways that God might be trying to reach us. So all that to say, journaling is fantastic. I have had seasons of intense journaling where I journaled every day, pages and pages. It's been years since I've done that kind of journaling on a consistent basis, but I'm forever grateful for having those journals and having that time, especially early on in my faith. That was incredibly pivotal for me. Today's journaling I do more journaling every weekend, usually on Sundays, where I actually combine it with the prayer of examine and look at my past week and see where I saw God, where I missed God, how I'm doing. It's a great way to check in with myself and keep a record and then make some intentions for the coming week. So so that's just a little bit about journaling. Today I'm going to do some journaling prompts for you. And I just kind of wanted to start with this thought. So some of us are really tempted to believe that God doesn't care about the little concerns and frustrations of our days. We remember that God is so powerful that he died and he rose to life, bringing light and life to the entire world. And so we may imagine that God just doesn't care about our small day-to-day issues. I mean, he has the whole world in his hands, as we say, right? And so why would he care? Why would God care about our day-to-day little issues? But it's precisely because God cares that Jesus was willing to die. And Richard Foster actually reminds us that love is what drove Jesus to the cross. Love for us. Love that compelled him to make a way so that we could be forever connected, so that God's Spirit could be with us no matter what. And so it's in that truth that I want to invite you to practice the following journaling exercise. And it's really, again, perfect to do anytime during Easter weekend. It's not specifically tied to today. So if you have your pen and paper or journal, I'm going to read some prompts or talk through some prompts with you. And then I'm going to allow a few minutes for you to journal. I'm going to play some royalty-free music for us so I can play that on our video. And I just want you to this is just for you, and so I want to invite you to really share what's truly in your heart and to write what's really there. One thing I often say at the Perch is when I was first coming to faith, one thing that was very important for me was that I was not willing to follow a God who could not handle my emotions, who could not handle my true feelings. Because if I was going to follow that God, that wasn't really a God at all. And I have been completely convinced that our God does, he is able to handle anything I bring his way, any anger, any frustration, any feelings. In fact, I think that God is happy when we can come to him and share exactly where we're at with honesty and authenticity and vulnerability. And so I want to invite you to do that today as much as you are willing and able. So go ahead and get that paper and pen ready, and I'll read this first prompt. So it says, on Good Friday, all feels dark and unsettled for the disciples. What in your life right now feels dark, heavy, or unsettled? Now I want to invite you to respond from the perspective of God in your journal. Because on Good Friday, God was weeping too. God was right there with them. God was feeling their pain, and God does that with us too. And so I want you to write this sentence, and I want you to fill in the blanks from God's perspective. I want you to write, I see your fill in the blank, pain, sadness, fear. And I am blank with you. I am weeping sad with you. Go ahead and fill out that sentence and fill in the blanks. On Holy Saturday, the disciples waited, trusting that this wasn't the end of the story. What do you need to put into God's hands today as you wait in this time and see what happens next? Perhaps it's your expectations, your fears, your finances. This is an unsettling time. So what is it that you need to put into God's hands as you wait? Now I want to invite you to respond from God's perspective again and simply write down what you think God wants to reassure you of in this time of waiting. Maybe it's that He is waiting with you. Maybe it's that there will be new life coming. But if you could just write down a sentence of what you feel God wants to reassure you of during this time of waiting. Now here's our final journal prompt for this practice. On Easter morning, signs of life were all around, even if the disciples were a bit in disbelief. What signs of life do you see in your life right now? Or perhaps what signs of life do you hope to see? I want you to know whether you see the signs of life right now or whether you are expectantly waiting in hope. God is doing a new thing. Here is what Isaiah 43:19 says. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. May that bring you hope and comfort as we head into Easter Sunday. May you be waiting and watching for signs of life. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for joining me for these 3 Holy Week practices. If you didn't catch the other 2, I hope you'll scroll back and check them out today as well. Have a wonderful day and happy Easter.